Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Radha Kunda Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Jamuna Tira Govardhana Parvata Jamuna Tira Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Radha Kusuma Sarovar Manasa Ganga Kalinda Nandini Vipula Taranga Vamsi Vata Gokula Dhira Samira Vrindavana Taru Latika Banira Khaga Mriga Kula Malaya Bata Mayura Brahmara Murali Vilasa Murali Vilasa Venu Shringa Pada Chinha Megha Mala Vasanta Shankha Shankha Karatala Yugala Vela Se Anukula Jani Holy La Vela Se Udipakamani ए सबा छोड़ा तो कानी नहीं जाओ ए सब छोड़ा तो परा न हराओ भक्ति विनोदा को है सुनो कान तू आओ दे पाका हमारा पराना राधा कुंड तटा कुंज कुटीरा राधा ओ राधा कुंड तटा कुंज कुटीरा Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. For those who may have missed, this is a very special bhajan which I recently heard on Radha Kund by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, mentioned in his book Sharanagati. Very, very beautiful. We'll quickly just go over the translation. The cottage in the grove on the banks of Radha Kund, the great Govardhan hill, the banks of the Yamuna, Kusum Sarovar, Manasa Ganga, the daughter of Kalinda, the Yamuna, with her many waves, the Vamsivat, Gokul, Dhira Samira, the trees and creepers and reeds of Vrindavan, the different varieties of colorful birds, the deer, the cooling breeze from the Malaya mountains, the peacocks, the bumblebees, the pastimes with the flute itself, the buffalo horn bugle, the footprints of cows in the dust of Raja, the rows of blackish rain clouds, springtime, the moon, the conch shell, and the karatals. All these I know to be very conductive for the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, may be conducive. I recognize in them a transcendental stimulus for making the Lord's charming pastimes more intense. I refuse to go anywhere if their stimuli to devotional service are not there, for to abandon them is to abandon life itself. Bhakti Vinod says, please hear me, O Kanha. Your entourage and paraphernalia stimulate remembrance of you and are the very source of my life. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Moving to today's verse. Before that, would like to thank and express my gratitude to Ramchandra Prabhu, Ram Tulsi Prabhu, and seek blessings of all the senior Vaishnavas assembled this evening. Thank you, all of you. This is a very challenging topic, and I know my situation, but I'll just repeat a few things I've heard from our acharyas and other senior Vaishnavas. So we'll move ahead with the translation or the verse recitation. Krishnasya che pranaya vasati preyasibhyo piradha kundam chasya munibhirabitas tadrageva vyadhayi yat prishterapyalam asulabham kim punar bhakti bhajam tat premedam sakaradapi sarastratura vishkaroti. I think we are a little behind on schedule, so maybe one person, if they want to recite this verse quickly. Okay, maybe we can do it together once more. Krishnasya che pranaya vyasati prayosyo bhipiradha kundam chasya munibhirabitas tadrageva vyadhyayi yat prishterapyalam asulabham kim punar bhakti bhajam tat premedam sakaradapi sarasnaturavesh karoti. Translation. Of the many objects of favor, delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Vrajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kunda is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is very rarely attained even by the great devotees. Radha Kund is very rarely attained even by great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. Purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Why is Radha Kund so exalted? The lake is so exalted because it belongs to Srimati Radharani. It's a very simple answer. Who is the most beloved object of Sri Krishna? Among all the gopis, she is the most beloved. Similarly, her lake, Sri Radha Kund, is also described by great sages as the lake that is as dear to Krishna as Radha herself. Indeed, Krishna's love for Radha Kund and Srimati Radharani is same in all respects. So Krishna's love for Radha Kund and Radharani is? It's the same. There's no difference. Radha Kund is very rarely attained, even by great personalities fully engaged in devotional service. Not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti. It is stated that a devotee will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of the gopis if he once takes a bath in Radha Kund. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the banks of Radha Kund, he should at least take a bath in the lake as many times as possible. This is the most important item in the execution of devotional service. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in this connection that Sri Radha Kund is the most select place for those interested in advancing their devotional service in the wake of the lady friends, Sakhis, and confidential serving maids, Manjaris of Srimati Radharani. Living entities who are eager to return home to the transcendental kingdom of God, Goloka Vrindavan, by means of attaining their spiritual bodies, Siddha Deha, should live at Radha Kund, take shelter of the confidential serving maids of Sri Radha, and under their direction engage constantly in her service. This is the most exalted method for those engaged in devotional service under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this connection, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that even great sages and great devotees like Narada and Sanaka do not get an opportunity to come to Radha Kund to take their baths. What then to speak of ordinary devotees? If by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radha Kund and bathe even once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna. Exactly as the gopis did, it is also recommended that one should live on the banks of Radha Kund and should be absorbed in the loving service of the Lord. One should bathe there regularly and give up all material conceptions, taking shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant gopis. If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back to Godhead to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the banks of Radha Kund. The conclusion is that to live on the banks of the Radha Kund and to bathe there daily constitute the highest perfection of devotional service. It is a difficult position to attain even for great sages and devotees like Narada. Thus, there is no limit to the glory of Sri Radha Kund. By serving Radha Kund, one can get an opportunity to become an assistant of Sri Radharani under the eternal guidance of the gopis. Shri Shri Radha Kund ki Jai. It was mentioned here couple of times, twice in the purport and once in the translation, that this is even difficult to attain by devotees like Narad and Sanaka. But just by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, all of us have had a chance, or some of us have had a chance to take a bath in Radha Kund. It is only and only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And that's why Prabhupada's position in ISKCON is very, very special. There are many, many sannyasis, many, many amazing spiritual masters in ISKCON currently and in the past. But Srila Prabhupada's position has always been unique, is always unique, and will always be very, very unique. There should not be any ambiguity or any confusion about that. So with that, we'll move into our prayers. We can all chant together. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Sha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaitya Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. How many of you have been to Radha Kund? Oh, a good majority. Okay, how many of you haven't been to Radha Kund? And how many of you would like to go to Radha Kund? Again, okay. Yes, it's a very, very special place, extremely special. So if you get a chance, whenever you go to Vrindavan, please make it a point. You give your respects to Radha Kund. So with that, from a content standpoint, so today we'll do a quick recap of all the 10 verses we've covered so far, just so we know how we came to verse 11. There were some pointers in this purport that Prabhupada writes, so I thought it would be helpful to maybe talk about those. So I picked 4, there may be more, but first one being, why is Radha Kund as dear to Krishna as Shri Radha herself? Second, why does a manual of practical instruction, which is nectar of instructions, end at Shri Radha Kund? Why weren't there more instructions? Why was this the ultimate verse? What does bathing and residing in Radha Kund actually mean? For those who've been to Vrindavan and Radha Kund, many monkeys also bathe in Radha Kund, and different other species also. But is it the same for us also? Is there a special meaning behind it? So we'll maybe discuss that a little bit. And finally, if it is so rare to attain Radha Kund, what is our hope, or what is my hope? And then we'll finally conclude. So moving along with the quick recap of the verses we had from over the last few weeks. So maybe I'll ask a few things around just to keep things interactive, and you can either raise your hand or just speak up. So first verse spoke about tolerating the 6 urges. Anyone can name one urge? Yeah, anger. Very good. Next was 6 things that destroy bhakti. Can you name one? Next is 6 qualities favorable to bhakti. Any one? Utsaha, enthusiasm. So nice. Padmodar Prabhu is a very nice example of Utsaha. He's always enthusiastic. Even if you're feeling down, if you'll be around Padmodar Prabhu, you feel enthusiastic. 6 loving exchanges amongst devotees. Honoring prasadam. Everything is around prasadam only. Very good. Association. 3 classes of Vaishnavas. What was this about? Yep. Not judging a Vaishnava by his body. This is kind of explains itself. The sweetness of the name again explains itself. The essence, chant, remember, live in Vraja. Also self-explanatory. Of all places, please focus here now. So, of all places, the verse 9 talks about Radha Kund is supreme. So, in other words, Radha Kund has been covered in a previous verse also. So, what is so special about 11? Verse 10 talks about Shri Radharani, how she is the supreme. So, verse 11, what it does, it combines verse 9 and verse 10 and shows us the ultimate goal. And we'll see in the upcoming slides how that happens. So, why is Radha Kund as dear to Krishna as Shri Radha herself? We'll just narrate a quick pastime, which most of us would know. But this comes from the Arishtasur pastime, where Kamsa was sending so many demons. And this demon came in the form of a bull. So Krishna obviously very easily killed that demon. We won't go too much in detail, keeping in mind time. But basically he killed Arishtasur. And then when he came back to meet Srimati Radharani and the gopis, they said, no, you are impure. You have committed a sin. You have committed Gohatya. We cannot associate with you. You have to go and atone. So Srimati Radharani chastises Krishna that you are impure, you have committed Gohatya, you have to go and purify yourself. And she said the best way to purify yourself is you have to bathe in all the holy rivers in the universe. Krishna said, okay, no problem. So Krishna basically just put his heel, pressed his heel into the ground, and all the holy rivers from all over the universe just arrived. And we had Ganga, Yamuna, Kaveri, Godavari, and so many rivers just came and offered their obeisances and said, hey Krishna, and just offered themselves into that pond. And that pond is known as Shamakund. Yes. That pond is known as Shamakund. So then Krishna then says, okay, now I'm purified. You said I have to go and purify myself. Now I'm pure. Now you are impure because you have sided with the demon. You are impure, although it came in the form of a bull, but the essence of that bull was it was a demon. So now you are at fault and you are impure, but it's okay. I can give you some water from my kund to purify. So Radharani is like, no, I won't take anything from your kund. We will dig our own kund. So Srimati Radharani and all the Sakhis started put their bangles out, and with some pride she said, no, we will also build our own kund. They dig, they keep digging, and nothing came. Nothing came for a long, long time. And then Krishna finally, seeing their effort, they were all perspiring and tired and exhausted. So Krishna again called all the holy rivers and said, please, can you also fill up this kund? And then finally, there was the appearance of Shri Radha Kund, and Shama Kund was obviously before then. Some people say there was the passageway was actually through the ridges. It was not a separate kund. They actually made a ridge or a kind of a tunnel through Shama Kund, and that water flow into Radha Kund. And even today when we go, we see there's a connection point between Radha Kund and Shama Kund. Do you know, is there a name for that, Ram Tulsi Prabhu? Or not a name, but basically it's a very special place where it's like a junction point where Radha Kund and Shama Kund meet. So this is a very, very special place. And then Krishna, so to answer the first question, why is Radha Kund as dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani herself? So Krishna, the answer is here. Krishna then declared to Radharani, just as you are the dearmost to me among all the gopis, your kund is the dearmost to me among all holy places. Whoever bathes here even once will attain prema bhakti equal to yours, and I will reside there eternally. But the question arises, who is Srimati Radharani? Again, a very, very advanced subject matter. Srila Prabhupada always encouraged that we don't talk about Srimati Radharani in too much detail, because it's a very natural tendency for us to impose our material understanding on Srimati Radharani and to think of her as a mundane woman having loving affairs with a mundane person. So it is a very, very deep subject matter, spiritually speaking. And it is definitely not for someone like myself, but Prabhupada has given us a basic understanding, and that's enough. Even in Vrindavan, when devotees would greet Prabhupada and say, Radhe, Radhe, Prabhupada would always say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He would never utter the name of Radharani very cheaply. And even in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sukadev Goswami hasn't mentioned the name of Srimati Radharani directly, only once. Because it is said if Sukadev Goswami would have mentioned that, he would have gone in ecstasy and there would be no more Srimad Bhagavatam. So much attraction and so much attachment and so much love. It's very hard for my mundane mind to imagine that. But there is a semblance to it. Whenever a mother thinks of a daughter's child, or her things that he or she would do, the mother would always think, oh, my daughter used to do this, my daughter used to do that, my daughter used to do this, or my son used to do that. There's always a very strong attachment there. So Srimati Radharani, mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 4.98, Radha Krishna Eche Sada Eka Iswarupa Leela Rasa Swadite Dhare Dui Rupa. A very, very simple understanding of Srimati Radharani without going into the energies and everything. Thus, the translation is, thus Radha and Lord Krishna are one. Yet they have taken two forms to enjoy the mellows of pastimes. Srila Prabhupada explains a very, very easy way to understand this concept. A person comes into this world, there's a man who has wealth, who has a good job, good car, good house, so he's happy independently, but somehow he then marries, then has children, then has a family. What is the purpose behind that? What is the purpose behind that? Prabhupada explains the purpose is to exchange and experience that rasa, experience some relationships. So similarly, this tendency that we have to at some point have a family, grow, have a wife, children, and again grandchildren, this is coming from the Supreme Lord Himself. Because it is mentioned in the scriptures that nothing that we see or experience in the world has its origin outside of that Supreme Being, Janma Dasyataha. Every emotion that we feel, whether it's love, anger, enmity, there's a source to it. Obviously, in the material world, it's slightly perverted, as we can see in this image. There is Urdhamula Madhoshaka. This material world is a perverted reflection of that. So when we try to imitate Rasa Leela in this world, we get into a lot of trouble. Love in this material world is a very, very powerful emotion, especially if you're in your teenage years or your 20s or your, just your early youth age. Very, very powerful emotion. We see people, dying. We see people killing. There's billion-dollar movies being made on this. There's songs. Most of the songs that I used to hear in my generation were based on love. So a very, very powerful emotion, but if it is not channelized in the right direction, it can create some trouble for a lot of us. And we experience in this world that we come together in the hope of being happy. A male and a female will come together. And then we all have experience. Things change. There is some changes, some disturbances. Things don't always pan out the way we expected. So things change. But the origin happens in the spiritual world. So this is just a quick anatomy of love, which shows how it is in the spiritual world, how it is here. We won't drain this slide, but essentially it talks about how love is actually nothing but either selfishness or expanded selfishness. Either what is about me, mine, or my children, my grandchildren, my husband, my father, my mother, my wife, my husband, or my community, or my country. It just keeps expanding. But there's nothing beyond that. So the love or the attraction in this world causes mostly entanglement, whereas in the spiritual sense, it is the ultimate source of bliss and freedom. Moving along, why does a manual of practical instructions end at Radhakund? It's a valid question. And because there's so many instructions mentioned, like you all mentioned, some do's, some don'ts, some favorable things, some things to avoid. But why does everything end at Radhakund? Because so far everything was kind of an instruction. Srila Rupa Goswami, if it was that easy, then Srila Rupa Goswami could have just written one verse. But he did not. He wrote 11 verses. So what is the reason behind that? The reason is the same that Srila Prabhupada explains of why he encouraged all his followers and disciples to read Srimad Bhagavatam sequentially. Srila Prabhupada never ever encouraged us to go to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam where the Rasa Leela is mentioned. He always asked us to go systematically in a sequential manner. And this is true even in material life, and we'll talk about that. Similarly, this principle also applies in the darshan of deities. I first time heard this when I joined ISKCON in Australia, and I was told that you always worship deities from their feet upwards. Before that, I did not have that knowledge. I would just go and look at their face and, ask for a few things. Shishi Nimai Nitai ki jai, Shishi Radha Sham Sundar ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. But such a nice principle of studying Srimad Bhagavatam sequentially out of respect, of looking at the deities from their feet up. And the reason is the progression is necessary. The progression is necessary because it is the right etiquette to follow. If you want to meet the president of even a corporate organization, we cannot just jump into his face one day or put a meeting on his calendar. We have to go through his EAs or assistants or, some people who are underneath them. We just can't jump into somebody's face. It is just a proper etiquette to follow that, okay, we want to approach you. You are a very, very esteemed person, worthy of our respect. So let me approach you systematically. And this principle is even true in material life. If somebody wants to do a PhD in any space or in any area, you can't just jump into a PhD program and say, please take me, please enroll me in this program. No, you have to spend a lot of time studying that in your school, then your bachelor's, then your master's, then your MA and other things, and then and only then you get into a PhD program. We can't just jump into that. So the same principles applies to spiritual subject matters, because with this kind of a consciousness, and one may think that, we can just buy a ticket to Vrindavan and just go into Radhakund and take a dip, because that's what Rupa Goswami has suggested. But it requires a certain kind of consciousness, and we have to prepare our consciousness to be able to go there and take a dip there. Again, the progression is just shown, like the first 10 verses talks about all the do's and don'ts, the yam and niyama, the do's and don'ts, and there's a process that's given. And the conclusion is that if we approach Sri Radhakund, that has to be done with a mood of submission, a mood of begging, and through a consciousness that is fully purified by following the previous instructions. Moving along, what does bathing and residing in Radhakund actually mean? Like I was saying, there are many, many monkeys also living in Radhakund. And there are also some many false practitioners or pseudo-spiritualists, so-called, who just say we are spiritualists in the name, but in the morning they'll do bhajan, and at night something else is happening behind the scenes. So what does it truly mean to take a bath and reside in Radha Kund. Prabhu, can you read the next slide, please? So Prabhupada says very wonderfully, first deserve, then desire. This is a direct quote from Srila Prabhupada.
So Radha Kund, who will leave Radha Kund? One is topmost devotee, and if he mixes with third-class devotee, how is fit for living in Radha Kund? There is no difference between Radha Kund and Radharani. So how you can jump over Radharani? Radha Kund and Radharani are not different. How you can enjoy Radha Kund? By swimming. You cannot touch your feet even Radha Kund. You can take little water and keep it on the head. That is respectful to Radha Kund. Of course, things are going on like that, but strictly speaking, Radha Kund should be respected as Radharani herself. That is Radha Kund consciousness. Highest Radha Kund consciousness. Room Conversation, Vrindavan, 5th September 1976.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Srila Prabhupada in the early days, devotees, when they first went to India, these are all Western devotees from the US mostly, and they went to Radha Kund, and they did not know anything, so they started splashing water, playing in Radha Kund, and having almost like enjoying Radha Kund almost. So Srila Prabhupada was very grave. He said, Radha Kund is not meant for enjoyment. In fact, we cannot even go into Radha Kund we cannot even touch our feet, Radha Kund. And so he always recommended that for ISKCON devotees, or for devotees in general, it's always good to take a few drops and just splash them on your head. Obviously, it's recommended if you have that consciousness and if you have been practicing for many, many years, it is also okay to take a dip in Radha Kund. But usually speaking, in our early days of Krishna consciousness, it is better to not go and jump in and do a swimming class or a enjoyment mentality in Radha Kund. There's another quote by Srila Prabhupada. Who will understand Radha Krishna's loving affairs unless one has gone really through the instruction of Rupa Goswami? Radha Krishna loving affairs is not so easy. Radha Kund is not so easy that by force I go to Radha Kund and become a candidate. Rupa Raghunatha Pade hoibe akuti kabe hama bhujabo se jugala piriti. Narottam Das Thakur is hankering. When I shall understand about Radha Kund, Radha Krishna's prem, such liberated great devotees, acharyas, they are hankering. Rupa Raghunatha Pade hoibe akuti kabe hama bhujabo. When I shall understand. This is a very important point for sadhakas like myself. We can never ever know Shastra fully. It is not possible. Shastra has been given to us so we can see things through the lens of Shastra. But if at any time I feel that now I'm in control of Shastra and I know everything, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. We have to follow in the footsteps of, we heard previously, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. His mood is begging. He's begging. Where is Krishna? Similarly, Narottam Das Thakur. He's also begging. Where is Krishna? How can I find that Krishna prem? If at any point I feel that I have understood Krishna, that is the beginning of my downfall as a devotee. So, Shastra has to be always understood through, Prabhupada explains, through a living Bhagavad, which means our spiritual masters, which is our Shiksha Guru, our Diksha Gurus. But at no point we can say, oh, now ye Shastra meri mutti mein hai. That is never possible. Because Shastras their meanings are so deep. I know for my spiritual master, he has been reading Srimad Bhagavatam and writing on that and speaking on that, and so many other elevated Vaishnavas. They have been reading Radhanath Maharaj, Solnes Lokanath Maharaj's Vyas Puja was yesterday, Jayapataka Maharaj, so many other exalted Vaishnavas. They have not said ki abhi Krishna meri mutti mein hai. If you ever hear from these Vaishnavas, their mood is always Where is Krishna? Their mood is exactly like that of the Goswamis. If you ever hear their classes attentively, I was hearing a class from Radhanath Maharaj recently in Bhakti Center, and he was saying, if you are helping somebody come to Krishna consciousness, you're actually their servant. I said, what a consciousness. What a consciousness is that? Instead of thinking that I'm your guru, because there are different kinds of gurus. So one who shows you the path of Krishna consciousness is also a kind of guru. And then there's Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru. But Maharaj said we should consider that as, we should consider ourselves their servant. That is somebody who has read and imbibed the real true spirit of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they have understood. And the nice thing is, all our spiritual masters have the same mood. And I often speak to some devotee friends and my wife, and I say, when it is said that Guru is one, it doesn't mean artificially that Guru is like a homogeneous mixture, everyone is one. That is not the point of then we say Guru is one. When we say Guru is one, it means their instruction is one. Their goal and how they direct their disciples is one. I have spoken to quite a few of my devotee friends, and all of them have told me the same thing, pretty much the same thing. They always try to develop the relationship of their disciple with Srila Prabhupada. If any spiritual master is not doing that, then it's a concern. It's a concern. If the spiritual master is saying, now you serve me, now I am Acharya, now I am doing this, that's a concern. But luckily, thankfully, we are fortunate to be part of ISKCON, where all or most of our spiritual masters are just taking us and directing us to Srila Prabhupada. Isn't that true? All our spiritual masters are doing that. They are not saying, serve me, do this for me, do that for me. Obviously, we should serve them as best as we can. But their consciousness is that through this, either you serve Prabhupada directly or you serve Prabhupada through me, like a transparent via medium. But never ever they say, now you start serving me. If that ever happens, there should be a red flag and we should consult our Shiksha Gurus, like why is that happening? And again, this is no offense. This is mentioned in the scriptures. Because between sadhu, shastra and guru, the most important is Shastra. Because of Shastra one becomes Guru. And because of Shastra one becomes a sadhu. I was hearing this recently from Hari Parshad Prabhu, and he was saying if somebody is not following scriptures, he is not Guru. If somebody is not following Shastra, he is not sadhu at all. So the definition of Guru and sadhu comes from Shastra. Shastra is something that is the constant, that never ever changes. And he was giving a nice example which I just came to mind, so I'll share. He said, there are many, many incarnations of Krishna, and we celebrate a lot of incarnations of Krishna. But there's one incarnation of Krishna that almost denied the scriptures. Which one was that? Buddha. We don't celebrate Buddhashtami. We don't celebrate as such. We respect him, all respects and all. Obviously, he came for a certain purpose, for a certain reason. Because people were misusing scriptures to kill animals. So his goal was non-violence. But because he decried the Shastras, he said no to Shastras, don't accept, don't worry about. Obviously, his reason was different. We respect Buddha, but there is no celebration. That's how Hari Parshad Prabhu was explaining very wonderfully in that lecture. Moving along. So, we discussed earlier, what does bathing and residing in Radhakund really mean? Not just bathing there, not just living there like a monkey with 12 wives and looking like a renunciate, but actually serving then in proper consciousness. In fact, Prabhupada has made ISKCON so wonderful that we don't even need to be in Radhakund to start preparing that consciousness. That's the ultimate goal. If we can be there at some stage of our lives, wonderful. But that consciousness, that preparation, that groundwork has to start now within our local communities by working cooperatively under our our temple authorities, by working cooperatively with other devotees. By working cooperatively with other devotees that you don't get along with, you cannot look eye to eye, but still, for the pleasure of Prabhupada, we do it. When there is inconveniences, we have health issues, we have our schedules are packed, we have work the next day, but still, that particular night, if it's a festival, devotees are coming together and cooperatively working together so we can pack up for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said that your love will not be shown to me by how many scriptures you know or how many verses you know of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and how many books you distributed or how wonderful kirtan you are leading or how you are memorizing the Shastra or how you are able to, counteract different arguments or different things or what wonderful temples you have. Your love for me will be shown in how you cooperate with one another. Because it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. Ram Tulsi Prabhu was giving the example of the porcupines in the jungle the other week. And he said that the porcupines, when they are together, porcupines, has anyone seen a porcupine? You all know what a porcupine is? It has sharp, almost like, what do you say? Yeah, like needles, sharp needles coming out of a porcupine. Like a hedgehog. I don't know what that is. Anyone knows what a hedgehog is? Okay, sorry. Yeah, but it could be close. But porcupines they're very, very sharp like nails, like Prabhu was saying. But still, if they are not together in a jungle, it's a small animal. It's not a very big animal. It can be killed very easily. It can be attacked very easily. And the way we are living in this Kali Yuga these days, there is attack from everywhere, believe it or not. The number one attack is in our own hands, our phone. Then there's work. Then there is friends, then relatives, then television, then career competition at work, competition at college. So there's so much Maya everywhere that we should try and not get that same consciousness when we enter a spiritual organization, especially when we are coming to a center. We should come with the consciousness of cooperating with our heads down and in a mood of service. There are so many examples in our own congregation here who are just wonderful, wonderful examples of that. I won't take a name because then it seems you are taking names. But there are so many names and so many people like that, and we should all feel fortunate to be part of this community. It is our fortune that if we are able to do service. Always think that service is a privilege. Ramchandra Prabhu keeps reminding me this all the time because sometimes it feels, there's so many things happening. We have this program, we have one program, we have another program, then we have Saturday program, we have Wednesday Sangha. But when the leaders are leading from the front, it's like, let's just follow them. Let's do the best we can. So Ramchandra Prabhu always says, service is a privilege. And if you are chanting Hare Krishna nicely, a nice symptom of that is you're getting more service. Sometimes we have to have a healthy balance, obviously. But if we are getting a healthy amount of service, we should not consider that, because I'm so good at leading, that's why I'm getting service. No, it's a privilege given to one because of certain reasons, and mostly because of mercy. I know for myself, total mercy case. It is not because of qualifications or because I've earned that. It is a simple mercy case of Prabhupada, the Vaishnavas, and our spiritual master. So when we say we have to live in Radha Kund, it doesn't mean I pack my bag tomorrow and say, okay, Hari Bol, Radha Kund, next destination. No. What that means is start preparing our consciousness for Shri Radha Kund, which means the consciousness of service. Not to control. That is very easy I want to become a leader. I want to control. No. The consciousness is, how can I serve? How can I serve in any capacity? If you give me to mop something, okay, I'll do it. Ramchandra Prabhu mops also, but then he also leads classes, then he also leads festivals, but then he also leads Bhakti Vriksh. So there is no discrimination that this is less, and we should not just look for services that are in the limelight. Okay, there's a kirtan. Okay, just put my name for the main slot. Then Hare Krishna, very nice. And then everyone says, Prabhu, what a nice kirtan. And you say, oh no, Prabhu. So that is not right. Yes, we should do, who was it? Radhe Shyam Prabhu. Radhe Shyam Prabhu always says, whenever you do a very service that puts you in limelight, immediately after that do a service that is menial service. Go and clean the pots. Radhe Shyam Prabhu says that, who is like, in one sense, one of the acharyas in our community. So wonderful example he sets. He says, if you do any service which attracts too much attention, like a limelight, oh, I'm a leader of this kirtan, this service, that service. No, immediately do something that is a little bit menial. It will keep us in check. And over time, as I have personally spent time in Krishna consciousness, I have found that to be very helpful. Not every time I have been able to do that, but whenever I have, I found that it keeps me in check. It keeps me in balance. It is not that I am the leader, I am leading this, I am wonderful. It is a privilege given to all of us. Moving along, again, the spiritual, it is about, right now, we are turning away. And the way, and I won't drain this slide again, the way to turn towards spiritual life is through service. Through service, the dham, the holy name, everything, the scriptures also will be revealed to us. If we think that Raktak Das on the strength of his intelligence can conquer Srimad Bhagavatam, that will not happen. Unfortunately, that will not happen. There is a very, very nice verse. I don't know if I can remember it. No. Tarko pratishto shutayo vibhinna nasha vrishiryaksya matim na bhinnam dharmasya tattam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatyasya pantha. There are so many scriptures. If you start reading scriptures, there is no end. If you read philosophies, there is no end. If you read different kind of arguments, every philosophy and every verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a commentary on it. Any verse, and there are so many Puranas, Upanishads. How do you understand? Where is the truth? Where is the truth? I had that question many years back. And my spiritual master told me many things. And then somehow after meeting him, I also came in touch with this verse, and somewhere it settled my mind. That for me, Prabhupada is that Mahajan. Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers. We can also not be narrow-minded that only Prabhupada. No, Prabhupada and his sincere followers. Whoever is following his teachings to the T, we have to follow them. But if we arguments we can have all day. Because any line in scriptures can be misconstrued in many ways. Moving along. So what is my hope? That is the question. What's in it for me, as they say? If it is so rare that even Narad Muni and Sanak, they are not able to achieve it, then what is the hope of Raktak Das in New Jersey to achieve Radha Kund? But there is hope. There is hope if we follow the Mahajans, if we follow the guidance given by Srila Prabhupada. We have to worship in separation. Like I was saying, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Goswamis. The Goswamis never ever say, I have now captured Krishna. I know Krishna. They always say, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Srimati Radharani? Where are they? Where are the Goswamis? Where is Rupa Goswami? They are just always, that bhajan is so nice. Jayanilo Prema Dhana. Karuna Prachur. Then that is saying, where is Sarup Damodar? Where have they gone? Where are they? We cannot say, now I have captured them in my mutti. So that separation, that longing in our heart will purify the consciousness. Secondly, we have to strictly follow the principles. We cannot just say the Sahajya path that, no, now I can go directly to Vrindavan and Radha Kund and start dancing like a gopi. And if I'm a male, I start dressing up like in a sari. Prabhupada said those shortcuts are not allowed. If one is serious in Krishna consciousness, those shortcuts will lead to major accidents. Major. And we've seen many such accidents in our organization and outside if we try to take those shortcuts. We have to strictly follow those principles, and hence Rupa Goswami had those 10 verses. He did not just say, Go to the 11th verse, like we were discussing earlier. He could have said, just go. If that is the ultimate goal, just do it. No, he gave us the path towards it. Srila Prabhupada just didn't say, read the 10th canto, the Rasalila pastimes. No. He requested and suggested that we go systematically and sequentially, because I can speak for myself, my consciousness is not there yet. I have to understand things in the proper way by following Mahajans. Deep reverence. We can't have frivolous attitude when we go to Radhakund, start jumping around, start playing games. Yesterday, some of us were at the beach, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time with devotees. But we cannot have the same beach mentality when we go to Radhakund. Beach mentality and Radhakund consciousness, totally different. Totally different. In Radhakund, we take a few drops, like Prabhupada said. We should not even touch our feet. And I personally prefer that route. I know in Nectar of Instructions it is mentioned that you can also, it is okay to bathe. But for now, I like to follow what Prabhupada says. So whenever I go, I just take a few drops. And that's just a personal thing I follow. But others, there are many, many exalted Vaishnavas here. And at some stage, we should aspire for that goal. And hopefully one day we can take a dip also. So deep reverence for that. And final, we should have that mood of service. Service doesn't start that I will only be serving my spiritual master. No, service starts with serving this devotee community, our Vaishnava community. We've touched upon this service quite a bit now, so I won't belabor it too much. But our spiritual master, our Guru Parampara, serve under their direction, because they know how to guide us. We cannot just say that now I know what to do in life. As soon as we think that we are in that independent consciousness is very dangerous in spiritual life. As soon as I think that I know better than my authorities, or I know that there is nobody more advanced than me here, there's a problem there. If we feel that some devotees we don't connect with, that's fine. But we have to identify devotees who are more advanced than us. We cannot just say that there's nobody more advanced. I know what to do in life or in my Krishna conscious life. So that independent mentality is very dangerous. And I speak mostly, again, when I say this, I am trying to preach to myself that I hope I don't ever go into that independent mindset, that I know better than, so many devotees here. I should always be under the guidance of senior Vaishnavas here. And that is not me becoming small. That is actually a protection. That is a safeguard against falling victim to Maya, thinking I'm over smart. So now, how to get there? And Ramchandra Prabhu mentioned about, we have the Chaturmasya challenge starting next week. So Ram Tulsi Prabhu, if anybody has anybody not registered for the Japa challenge with Ram Tulsi Prabhu yet? Anybody? Oh, few. So please register with Ram Tulsi Prabhu and give your names, and we should start chanting, stand with attention with devotees. It's wonderful. If I'm not attentive, but I see so many devotees chanting with attention, I automatically become enthused to chant like that. Serving the devotees, again, we've covered this point so many times now, so I won't go into it. Keep text 1 to 10 in mind. Just don't think that this is the ultimate goal, so text 11 is my goal. No, the focus should be on the initial 1 to 10 texts, what the instructions are, what is favorable, what kind of devotees I need to associate with, what is the sweetness of the holy name, what is the meaning of Vrindavan, which is the highest place, what is the position of Srimati Radharani, and what things to avoid, what to do. All those things have to be kept in mind. We cannot just become very callous devotees and say, now I know everything is fine. If I just chant Hare Krishna, I'll be fine. In principle, that is fine, but in practice, things are different. We have to follow some rules and regulations. Hear about the Dham. Hear about Shri Radhakund. And beg, but never bargain. We have to beg. We have to become not arrogant devotees that I know and I can do and I can lead kirtans and I can do this and I can read scriptures or I can do dances or I can do nice worship. No. It is... We have to follow. If we are serious, as Prabhupada was explaining in the purport, if we are serious practitioners and if we want to truly advance in spiritual life, we have to follow in the footsteps of our Goswamis who are always begging. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that I am lower than the worm in the stool. And Srila Prabhupada explains in his talk that, is he just saying that? And Prabhupada says he's actually feeling like that. And this is a very different context than one feeling having low self-esteem. This is not a situation where he's having low self-esteem, that I am so lowly. This is just their consciousness. It's a very, very elevated consciousness, something that should not be imitated. I repeat, something that should not be imitated. We can only follow. Certain things that our acharyas do, the Goswamis do, we cannot imitate any of that. But we can only beg. So none of this requires a plane ticket. It only requires to us having the right consciousness. And to conclude, the topmost person, Srimati Radharani, the topmost place, her holy kund, Shri Radha Kund, and the ultimate promise that this verse says, that if we simply bathe in those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. There are a lot of details into this, but we will pause here, and just by bathing in that proper consciousness, and by imbibing this nectar of instructions all the way from text 1 to text 11, we can reach that ultimate goal of under the shelter of Srimati Radharani. So with that, I'd like to stop here, and thank you again, everyone, for your time and attention. If anybody has any questions, I don't know if we have time for questions. If not, then we can maybe move to the next program, Prashadam, and if anybody has questions, we can discuss it in Prashadam. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.